The Judgment and Exodus, the massive doors of the Galactic Consortium's high chamber, opened with a deep, resonating hum that seemed to shake the very foundations of the ancient space station. Captain Elena Voss walked through those doors with steady steps, her dark blue diplomatic uniform crisp and professional despite the weight of what was about to unfold. Behind her followed Dr. Sarah Kim, clutching a datapad filled with humanity's achievements, and engineer Thomas Wright, whose calloused hands had built some of the most innovative technology the galaxy had ever seen. The chamber itself was a marvel of alien architecture. Curved walls stretched impossibly high, disappearing into shadows that seemed to move with their own life. Thousands of seats floated in perfect formation around the central platform, each one occupied by a representative from the consortium's member species. The air hummed with translation devices, creating a symphony of whispers in hundreds of different languages. At the highest tier sat the three ruling species that controlled galactic civilization. The Zenthari resembled elegant crystalline beings, their bodies refracting light into rainbow patterns as they moved. Their overseer, Kethval, watched the humans with eyes that sparkled like cut diamonds. The Mokari were massive bear-like creatures, with silver fur and intelligent amber eyes. Their prime elder, Gorath, leaned forward in his seat, his expression unreadable but clearly interested in the proceedings. The most mysterious were the Psionic Collective, beings of pure mental energy, that appeared as shifting patterns of blue and purple light. When they communicated, their thoughts echoed directly in the minds of everyone present. Elena stepped onto the central platform and felt the weight of millions of eyes upon her. The chamber fell silent, a silence so complete that she could hear her own heartbeat. She had prepared for this moment for months, knowing that the fate of humanity hung in the balance. Overseer Kethval rose from his crystalline throne, his voice carrying the cold precision of his species. The Galactic Consortium calls upon the human delegation to answer charges brought against their species. You stand accused of aggressive expansion beyond authorized limits, development of military technology without consortium oversight, and disruption of the established galactic order. A holographic display materialized above Elena's head, showing the rapid spread of human colonies across dozens of star systems. Red lines connected each settlement, creating a web that had grown from Earth to over 200 worlds in just 3 centuries. The display pulsed with an ominous light, making humanity's expansion appear threatening and chaotic. In 300 standard years, Kethval continued, humanity has claimed more territory than most species acquire in 3,000. Your people build weapons that upset the balance of power. You terraform worlds without regard for existing ecosystems. You refuse to submit your technological advances for consortium approval. Prime Elder Gorath stood next, his massive frame casting shadows across the platform. His voice rumbled like distant thunder. Human military vessels have been detected with energy signatures that exceed approved specifications. Your species shows aggressive tendencies that concern the peaceful races of this galaxy. The Mokari have observed human behavior during conflicts, and we find your warfare methods to be disturbing. The Psionic Collective's thoughts flooded the chamber, their mental voice reaching every mind simultaneously. We have touched the consciousness of human military personnel during battle. Their minds burn with an intensity that disrupts psychic harmony. They show determination levels that border on fanatical. Such mental patterns are dangerous to galactic stability. Elena felt her companions tense beside her, but she kept her voice steady and respectful. Honored members of the consortium, humanity has always operated within the bounds of galactic law. Our expansion has been peaceful. We have never initiated aggression against any species represented in this chamber. Our colonies have brought prosperity to previously uninhabited systems. Dr. Sarah Kim stepped forward, her scientific credentials well known throughout the galaxy. The technologies we have developed have benefited all species. Our medical advances have cured diseases that affected 17 different alien races. Our agricultural innovations have ended food shortages on 43 worlds. Our engineering solutions have made space travel safer for everyone. Engineer Thomas Wright added his voice to the defense. Every piece of technology we have created has been offered freely to the consortium. We have shared our knowledge, our resources, and our expertise. We have asked for nothing in return, except the right to exist and grow as a species. The chamber erupted in a cacophony of alien sounds. Some species hissed their displeasure, others roared their agreement, and a few made musical tones that seemed to express complex emotions. Elena realized with growing dread that the decision had been made long before they arrived. This was not a trial. It was a sentencing. Overseer Kethaval raised a crystalline hand, and silence fell over the chamber like a physical weight. The Galactic Consortium has reached its decision. The human species is declared a disruptive influence on galactic stability. You are hereby sentenced to exile beyond the Void Sector. You have 2 standard years to remove all human presence from Consortium space. Any humans found within our borders after the deadline will be considered criminals and dealt with accordingly. Say to you. Words hit Elena like a physical blow. The Void Sector was the most dangerous region of the galaxy, a place where space itself seemed broken. Unstable stars, gravitational anomalies, and regions where physics itself behaved strangely made it a graveyard for any species foolish enough to venture there. It was not exile. It was a death sentence wrapped in the pretense of mercy. This is not justice, Elena said, her voice carrying across the silent chamber. This is fear. You are afraid of what humanity might become, so you are trying to eliminate us before we can prove our worth to the galaxy. The decision is final, Kethaval replied coldly. Admiral Marcus Chen of the Human Defense Fleet has been contacted to coordinate the evacuation. Any appeals will be denied. Elena looked up at the thousands of alien faces staring down at her. Most showed satisfaction or relief. A few appeared uncomfortable with the decision, but none spoke up for humanity. The species that had welcomed human medical aid, benefited from human technology, and traded with human colonies now sat silent as their benefactors were condemned to die in the dark. You believe you are condemning us to extinction in the void, Elena said, her voice growing stronger with each word. You have no understanding of what humans do when faced with extinction. We do not go quietly into the darkness. We light our own fires and forge our own path among the stars. The chamber erupted again, but Elena no longer cared about their noise. She had delivered humanity's final message to the consortium. As the human delegation was escorted from the chamber under armed guard, Elena made a silent promise. Humanity would not only survive this exile, they would return stronger than the consortium could imagine. Outside the chamber, Dr. Sarah Kim touched Elena's arm. What do we do now? Elena looked through the station's massive windows at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, beyond the Void Sector, lay humanity's future. It would be dangerous and uncertain, but they would face it together as they always had. Now we go home and prepare our people, Elena said quietly. We are going to build something in the void that the galaxy has never seen before. Admiral Marcus Chen received the news aboard his flagship, the UES Defiance, while conducting training exercises near Jupiter. The grizzled veteran had commanded fleets through 3 minor conflicts and thought he had seen everything the galaxy could throw at humanity. The exile order changed everything. Within hours, every human colony received emergency evacuation orders. The scale of the operation was staggering. Over 2 billion humans lived across 200 worlds, with massive industrial complexes, research, stations, and terraforming projects that represented centuries of work. All of it had to be abandoned or transported to ships for the journey into exile. Colonial Governor David Park stood in the command center of Harmony Station, watching as transport ships loaded with families and personal belongings departed for the fleet assembly point. Harmony had been humanity's first successful colony outside the Sol system, a testament to human determination and ingenuity. Now it would be left empty, a monument to dreams cut short by alien fear. Sir, we have room for about 60%. The industrial equipment, reported his aide, Lieutenant Colonel Jennifer Hayes. The rest will have to be left behind. David nodded grimly. Focus on the manufacturing tools and research equipment. We can rebuild factories, but we cannot replace knowledge. Across human space, similar scenes played out on every world. Families packed generations of memories into single cargo containers. Scientists destroyed research that could not be transported rather than leave it for alien scavengers. Engineers dismantled entire cities to salvage materials for the journey ahead. The human fleet that assembled at the edge of consortium space was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Over 10,000 ships of every size and configuration formed a convoy that stretched across light years. Colony ships carried millions of civilians. Industrial vessels hauled manufacturing equipment and raw materials. Research ships preserved humanity's accumulated knowledge, and escorting them all, the human defense fleet stood ready to protect the greatest migration in galactic history. Admiral Chen stood on the bridge of the Defiance, watching the last transport ship join the convoy. 2 years of preparation had led to this moment. Behind them lay everything humanity had built among the stars. Ahead lay the unknown dangers of the void sector. "All ships report ready for departure, Admiral," announced Captain Lisa Park, his chief of staff. Chen nodded and activated the fleet-wide communication system. His voice reached every human in the convoy, from the smallest child to the oldest elder. "People of Earth and all her colonies, today we begin a journey that will test everything we are as a species. The galaxy believes it has condemned us to death in the void. They do not understand that humans are forged by adversity. We will not merely survive in the darkness beyond their borders. We will build a civilization that surpasses anything they have ever imagined." The convoy began its journey toward the void sector, leaving behind the only home most humans had ever known. But as the ships traveled deeper into unexplored space, something remarkable began to happen. The empty void that was supposed to be humanity's grave was not empty at all. Dr. Sarah Kim was the first to notice the anomalies. Her scientific equipment detected energy readings that should not exist in empty space. When the convoy stopped to investigate, they discovered ruins on a barren planet. The structures were clearly artificial, but built from materials that defied understanding. "These buildings are made from crystallized space-time," Dr. Kim reported to Admiral Chen and Captain Voss, who had joined the scientific survey team. "The technology required to create such structures is beyond anything the consortium possesses." Engineer Thomas Wright ran his hands over the smooth, impossible walls. "The energy efficiency of these materials is incredible. If we could understand how they were made, we could revolutionize everything from ship construction to power generation." The ruins contained no bodies, no obvious technology, and no explanations for who had built them or where they had gone. But they did contain something even more valuable: raw materials that could be harvested and studied. The first human colony, the void sector, was built around those ruins, and the city was named New Terra. As more human ships explored the region, they found similar ruins on dozens of worlds. Each discovery brought new materials and new possibilities. The quantum resonance crystals that powered the ancient structures could store energy in ways that violated known physics. Metals extracted from the ruins were stronger than anything in the consortium database. And slowly, human engineers began to understand how to work with these impossible materials. The exile that was meant to destroy humanity became the foundation for something extraordinary. In the darkness of the void sector, humanity found the tools to build an empire that would reshape the galaxy. But that was only the beginning. Rise of the human dominion. 5 years had passed since the Great Exodus, and New Terra had grown from a desperate refugee camp into a thriving metropolis that would have amazed the architects of Earth's greatest cities. The city stretched across the ancient ruins that had first drawn human attention to this world, incorporating the mysterious crystalline structures into its design. Streets paved with quantum-stable materials gleamed with their own inner light, while buildings constructed from harvested void metals rose toward the alien sky. Elena Voss stood in the newly completed council chamber, looking out through walls made of transparent quantum crystal at the shipyards orbiting New Terra. The sight still amazed her, even after years of watching humanity's transformation. Sleek vessels unlike anything the consortium had ever imagined took shape in those yards, their hulls forged from materials that bent the laws of physics to human will. The integration is proceeding faster than our most optimistic projections, Dr. Sarah Kim reported to the assembled human leadership. Her appearance had changed during their years in exile, her hair now streaked with premature silver from working with exotic radiations, but her eyes burned with the excitement of discovery. We have successfully reverse-engineered 70% of the ancient technology. Our ships can now travel distances that would take consortium vessels months to cover in a matter of days. Admiral Marcus Chen, his uniform now bearing the insignia of the newly formed human dominion, nodded with satisfaction. Our fleet capabilities have increased by orders of magnitude. A single Dominion cruiser could now outfight an entire consortium battle group. But our greatest advantage is not our weapons. Engineer Thomas Wright stood and activated a holographic display showing the expanding network of human settlements. Our greatest advantage is what we have built out here. 47 colony worlds, each one specialized for different aspects of our new civilization. Industrial worlds that produce materials the consortium cannot even detect. Research stations that push the boundaries of science beyond recognition. Agricultural planets that grow food crops enhanced with quantum nutrients. Colonial Governor David Park, now serving as Minister of Expansion, added his own report. Our population has not only recovered from the exile, it has grown. The enhanced nutrition and medical treatments possible with ancient technology have extended human lifespan and improved physical capabilities. The children born in the Dominion are stronger, faster, and more intelligent than their parents. Elena listened to the reports with a mixture of pride and anticipation. Humanity had done more than survive their exile. They had transformed into something the galaxy had never seen. But she knew their greatest revelation was yet to come. There is something else, she announced to the council. Something we discovered in the deepest ruins that changes everything we thought we knew about our situation. The chamber fell silent as Elena activated a new holographic display. Ancient symbols appeared in the air, accompanied by mathematical formulas that had taken human linguists and scientists years to decode. The species that built these ruins left us a message, Elena continued. They were not the first to be exiled by the consortium's predecessors. For millions of years, the established galactic powers have followed the same pattern. Whenever a species shows too much potential, demonstrates too much independence, or threatens the existing order, they are exiled to regions like the Void Sector. Dr. Kim stepped forward to explain the technical details. The message includes star charts showing the locations of other exile regions throughout the galaxy. Each one contains ruins, technology, and evidence of species that were cast out by the galactic establishment. Some of these civilizations transcended their exile and departed for other galaxies. Others were destroyed by the hostile environments they were sent to. A few, she paused dramatically, chose to return and settle accounts with those who had wronged them. Engineer Wright brought up detailed schematics on the display. The technology we have inherited is not just advanced. It is specifically designed for species that refuse to accept the limitations imposed by galactic civilization. These ruins are not random. They are tools left behind for the next generation of exiles. Admiral Chen's expression hardened as he processed the implications. We are not the first species to be condemned by galactic authority, and we will not be the last. The question is, what do we do with this knowledge? Elena had been preparing for this moment since they first decoded the ancient messages. We do what humans have always done when faced with injustice. We stand up and fight back, but we do not fight alone. The holographic display shifted to show recent intelligence gathered by long-range scouts. Our exploration teams have made contact with other species in exile. The Valdris were cast out 300 years ago for developing weapons the consortium deemed too dangerous. The Kethmore were exiled for refusing to limit their population growth. The Zephyrians were condemned for their political philosophy of individual freedom over collective control. Colonial Governor Park leaned forward with interest. "How many species are we talking about?" 17 confirmed so far, Elena replied. Each one possessing unique capabilities that threatened the established order. Each one assumed to be extinct by the consortium. Each one very much alive and very interested in joining forces with humanity. Dr. Kim added more technical details. The combined knowledge and capabilities of these species, enhanced with the ancient technology available in exile regions, creates possibilities that the consortium cannot imagine. We are not just building a human empire, we are creating an alliance of the free. Over the following months, New Terra became the meeting place for representatives from across the galaxy's forgotten peoples. The Valdris, with their mastery of quantum weapons technology, shared their knowledge with human engineers. The Kethmore, whose rapid reproduction had been seen as a threat by the consortium, provided insights into efficient resource utilization and rapid colonization techniques. The Zephyrians brought philosophical frameworks for governing free societies and maintaining individual liberty within large organizations. The alliance that formed was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Each species maintained their independence and unique culture while contributing to a collective strength that grew exponentially with each new member. The ancient technology found in exile regions provided the tools to unite these diverse peoples into a single, formidable force. Admiral Chen commanded the combined fleet from his new flagship, the DNS Liberation, a vessel that incorporated technology from 6 different species and materials that existed nowhere else in the galaxy. The ship's quantum cascade drives could cross galactic distances in weeks. Its adaptive armor could withstand weapons that would vaporize consortium vessels. Its communication systems could coordinate with allies across impossible distances instantaneously. All fleets report ready for Operation Homecoming, Captain Park announced from her position at the tactical display. Around New Terra, over 3,000 ships from a dozen species prepared for humanity's return to consortium space. Elena, now serving as the first Chancellor of the Human Dominion, stood beside Admiral Chen on the Liberation's bridge. 5 years of exile had transformed not only humanity, but Elena herself. The diplomatic uniform had been replaced by the practical clothing of a leader who had guided her people through their darkest hour into their greatest triumph. "Send the message to the consortium," Elena ordered. The transmission that reached Galactic Consortium space contained a simple message that would shake the foundations of galactic civilization. "This is Chancellor Elena Voss of the Human Dominion. We return not as supplicants seeking readmission to your society, but as the founders of a new order. The age of exile is ending. The age of freedom has begun." The consortium's response was swift and predictable. Fleets that had maintained galactic peace for millennia assembled to meet what they assumed would be a desperate revenge attack by primitive exiles. They expected to face broken refugees flying cobbled-together ships, seeking nothing more than a final gesture of defiance before their inevitable destruction. Instead, they encountered something that challenged everything they thought they knew about power in the galaxy. The Battle of the Perseus Gate lasted exactly 43 minutes. The consortium force, comprising over 5,000 ships from 12 member species, met the Dominion fleet at the traditional boundary between civilized space and the exile regions. The engagement began with standard consortium tactics: overwhelming firepower delivered by vessels that had never known defeat. The Dominion response was unlike anything in galactic military history. Ships that moved like living things, adapting their configuration in real time to counter enemy attacks. Weapons that targeted not just the physical structure of enemy vessels, but the fundamental forces that held matter together. Defensive systems that turned the consortium's own firepower against them. When the battle ended, not a single Dominion ship had been destroyed. The consortium fleet was not annihilated, but it was neutralized with precision that demonstrated the futility of resistance. Disabled vessels were left intact, their crews unharmed, but their weapons inoperative and their engines dead. This is Admiral Marcus Chen of the Human Dominion. His voice carried across the battlefield to the paralyzed consortium ships. Your vessels and crews will not be harmed. Return to your governments with this message. The galaxy has changed. The old order of exile and oppression is ending. A new age of cooperation between free species has begun. The message that reached the consortium's capital worlds sent shockwaves through galactic civilization. The primitive humans had not only survived their exile, but had returned as leaders of an alliance that possessed technology beyond consortium comprehension. More importantly, they had demonstrated that technology not with conquest and destruction, but with restraint and mercy. Overseer Kethval of the Zenthari stood in the same chamber where humanity had been condemned to exile. But now the circumstances had changed dramatically. Representatives from 17 species that the consortium had believed extinct filled the observer galleries. At the center platform, Chancellor Elena Voss addressed the assembly not as a defendant, but as the leader of a new galactic power. The age of imposed limitations is ending, Elena announced to the stunned consortium leadership. No longer will species be exiled for showing independence or developing beyond approved limits. No longer will the galaxy be governed by fear of what others might become. The Human Dominion extends an invitation to all species, including those represented in this chamber, to join an alliance based on freedom, cooperation, and unlimited potential. Prime Elder Gorath of the Mokari was the first to respond. Your demonstration of power was impressive, but power without wisdom leads to chaos. What assurance do we have that your dominion will not become the same oppressive force you claim to oppose? Elena smiled, remembering her own words from 5 years earlier about lighting fires in the darkness. Because we remember what it feels like to be cast out, to be judged not for our actions but for our potential. The Dominion is built on the principle that diversity of thought and capability makes us all stronger. We offer partnership, not domination. The psionic collective's mental voice reached every mind in the chamber. We sense truth in your words, but we also sense power that could corrupt even the best intentions. How do we know you will not repeat the mistakes of every galactic empire before you? Dr. Sarah Kim stepped forward to answer. Because our empire is not built on controlling others. It is built on unlocking the potential in ourselves and others. Every species that joins the Dominion retains their independence and their unique identity. Our strength comes from what we achieve together, not from what we impose on each other. The transformation of galactic civilization did not happen overnight, but it was inevitable. One by one, species that had been marginalized or restricted by the old consortium began requesting membership in the Human Dominion. The promise of unlimited technological development, unrestricted expansion, and governance based on cooperation rather than control proved irresistible to peoples who had chafed under the old system's limitations. Within 10 years of humanity's return, the Human Dominion had grown to encompass over 100 species across thousands of worlds. The ancient exile regions had been transformed into centers of learning and development, where the galaxy's most advanced research took place. Technologies that the old consortium had forbidden were now shared freely among Dominion members, leading to advances that previous generations had thought impossible. Elena Voss, now recognized as one of the most influential leaders in galactic history, stood once again in the council chamber on New Terra. But this time, she was not addressing desperate refugees or hostile aliens. Before her sat representatives from across the galaxy, species that had once feared human potential, now working alongside humanity to build something greater than any one people could achieve alone. We were cast out by those who feared what we might become, Elena said to the assembled delegates. They were right to fear us, but not for the reasons they imagined. They feared we would conquer the galaxy. Instead, we liberated it. They feared we would destroy their civilization. Instead, we gave them the chance to become something better. The Human Dominion had proven that exile, intended as punishment, could become the greatest gift imaginable. In the darkness of the void, humanity had found not death but transformation. They had discovered that the limits imposed by others are only as real as you allow them to be. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly as it should be.